In 1986, when Master of Puppets was out, Metallica were number 2 of my favorite bands, after Motorhead, but before Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden or Slayer. This is how great the first 3 albums had been. In the early 2000s, then, there was a period where I stopped listening to Metallica altogether. This is how disappointing the follow-ups were. Recently, however, the band recorded some new stuff that shows all the skills they obtained during the last 40 years. Therefore, with the latest album 72 Seasons, the time was ripe for a Metallica album ranking. Gimme Fuel, Gimme Fire is one of the best opening tracks on any Metallica album. There's just not much exciting happening afterwards. Prince Charming has a rock and roll attitude which I like, but there are too many slow songs dragging on and on like Low Man's Lyric or Fixer. Listening to this album again was definitely boring. My favorite track is King Nothing. Wasting My Hate is a cool little number, not as pretentious as the rest, and the single Until It Sleeps is one of the better ballads, if you want any ballads from Metallica at all. Altogether, Load is a little bit more listenable than Reload, yet with too much of that weird grunge-era stuff like Bleeding Me, for instance.
That is a fish you are holding.
This wasn't your good old metal up your ass Metallica anymore. This album was a return to thrash, albeit a bit more modern in style and a bit monotonous at times. The best thing is the DVD, to see the band play all the songs in their rehearsal room. When they are spontaneous and alive, tracks like Invisible Kid or Purify are pretty cool. It's a pity that the awful drum sound ruins the studio versions. I gotta tell you a story. 1988, I was in London and met Motorhead drummer Filthy Animal Taylor, who went to the pub and Filthy told me Motorhead had just written a new song called Going to Brazil. I asked, what does it sound like? Anyone else would have hummed the melody or sing a few lines from the songs, but not Filthy. He got some plates, cups, glasses, anything he could get his hands on, and built a miniature drum kit in front of him on the table. Then he took a spoon and a fork and played the song on that improvised drum kit. And he was so good that you could actually imagine what it was supposed to sound like. He was quite a character. Back to Metallica. Maybe St. Anger was developed on a drum kit like that, Lars hitting some tin cans or whatever. It would explain something. Anyway, at least watching the DVD again was interesting, and that had been the first opportunity to see Rob playing with the band. With this album, my interest in Metallica began to rise from the dead.
Let's try again, shall we?
They had put a lot of energy and aggression into songs like Cyanide and My Apocalypse. Even if there was too much quiet material like The Unforgiven 3 and The Day That Never Comes, it was light at the end of the tunnel. Metallica memes on the internet say it in very few words. Fans consider the Black Album to be the one when the band lost their way. That's because it was an album made to please everyone. Sales-wise, it certainly worked. There was some good headbanging stuff like Through the Never or Holier Than Thou, dark mid-tempo songs like The God That Failed, catchy sing-along tunes like Enter Sandman and Wherever I May Roam, and utterly commercial ballads like Nothing Else Matters and The Unforgiven. It's impossible not to like at least a few of them, whether you are a metalhead or a pop music fan. Metallica's audience got bigger, but they lost many true metal fans at this point. They now had to play stadiums instead of clubs, but one of the cool things about Metallica is that they built the stage in the middle, so at least some fans can come very close, whereas other artists have a stage here, fans over there, in between a huge gap for 5 cameramen and 20 security guys. One of the reasons why I still watch Metallica live videos a lot is that fans are involved instead of just being the anonymous mass. advanced single Lux Eterna was promising, bringing back memories on how Diamond had influenced the early Metallica. The lead guitar goes for some more rock and roll, for example in Screaming Suicide. If Darkness Had a Sun and the title track 72 Seasons are great songs too. The production is almost a bit too clean compared to older albums, but at least the bass has some real punch here. There are a few lengths too, especially the last song Inamorata, which runs 11 minutes, feels like even more with endless repetitions of misery, na na na, misery. If someone could kick their butts to bring this album down from 77 minutes to 50, it would probably be awesome. This album came as a bit of a surprise. Excellent songs like Moth into Flame, Spit Out the Bone and Atlas Rise kick some serious ass. Don't miss the excellent Lords of Summer. It didn't make it on the album but was put on the bonus disc. Strongly recommended, even if the cover artwork sucks. Metallica certainly wanted to move forward with their fourth album. Trying to understand what's going on here, I got the music notes for the songs, and this is certainly no status quo 3 chords material. Harvester of Sorrow or Blackened surely became band classics, while One is proof that ballads aren't always wimpy. The lyrics are brilliant and creepy. Unfortunately, the poor production damaged the album. Nowadays there are remixes on YouTube with titles like And Justice for Jason, which added a good bass sound. Check those out if you never did that before. It gives a good impression what the album should have sounded like, and then it's really great. From Battery to Sanitarium, still a very heavy album. I find nothing to complain about, except it was not as groundbreaking as its predecessor. The title track remained one of the first things coming to my mind whenever someone mentions Metallica. The first Metallica song I ever heard was Seek and Destroy, so I bought the Jump in the Fire 12-inch, which had that song on the B-side. After that I realized I needed the album, with Whiplash, Motor Breath and Metal Militia, great violent fun still today. Some influences are a bit too obvious though. The band would make their own style clearer on the next album. One of the great things about Metallica is they still play songs from this album live, although they have so much material to choose from. Other bands would forget about their roots, but they didn't. Metallica's finest hour, with songs from For Whom the Bell Tolls to Creeping Death. Even less remembered numbers like Trapped Under Ice and Escape have their merits. The band started to grow while still sounding more natural than on the follow-ups. These were exciting times with their first trip to Europe supporting Venom. I love bootlegs from that era. You may call me old-fashioned, but that's the Metallica I like best. Good night.